I actually kind of gave a sneak preview of ClickStack itself. So I'm going to try to get a bit more deeper into this and get you more excited in the observability space and ClickHouse. So globally, we are supporting like thousands of customers from OpenAI, Anthropic, Netflix to Tesla. So if you think about it, ClickHouse is actually not an observability company. We are actually a data company. But then there's a reason why users start preferring ClickHouse as kind of like the preferred database to solve age-old problems, which is observability itself. So when we started seeing this pattern over a period of time, we decided to like really step back and see what's happening within the space. That's when we realized like at the beginning of time, really going back with your first applications, we started looking at simple logs. We started using grep statements to identify individual events happening with single applications to figure out why something broke, why there was an error page similar to what Martha was showing where you can actually potentially win an iPod or something else. And then as your application systems start growing, there are enterprise-grade tools like Splunk that came out where you can start aggregating all your logs and you have like a good view of what's happening within the system. But this is not where it stopped. Like we started exploding with more digital ecosystem applications serving any kind of users, right? From edge devices to massive parallel computing. But one of the realizations that we came across as we started moving further into this research itself is identifying a single event, it's great. But when you have a massive ecosystem, you need to like really step out and start looking at what's happening overall in your system. So that's where moving away from logs, we need to start looking at metrics where you start aggregating information from your hardware or your even application heartbeats, what's happening around there. So we started with something as simple as graphite, and over a period of time, as complexity kind of evolved parallelly with what we saw in the logging systems, we moved into something like Prometheus and more recently, more Thanos. So as we like really started looking at this together, the problem started with this. We ended up having two different data sources to solve a single problem. One focusing more on searching like needle in a haystack kind of problem, identifying singular events across the system. The other part is like really taking a step back and zooming out. As engineers and building platforms, we started kind of having challenges as we started growing because logs and metrics are pretty much at the beginning of the whole story for observability stacks. This is where we start thinking we should have a quiz at this point in time, but Alexei kind of took out the fun and by asking you guys a lot of quizzes, so I'm going to skip through it. We realized like ClickHouse kind of is very versatile because we support structured data, unstructured data, and semi-structured, as you saw most of our users. So looking at observability stacks, we are looking at logs, metrics, stacks, and traces. Pretty much it covers all the different potential data patterns that you might be ingesting from your source systems. So that's where we realize we can actually push this further from just being seen as a database into more of an observability solution. So the first thing is more of a data store itself, why we excel. We are able to efficiently ingest large volumes of data. A great example is Tesla, where like they kind of wanted to stress test the system. They ingested 1 billion records per second for 11 days straight and nothing broke. But the system was pretty smooth. And the next part is we really believe in eating our own dog food. So Alexei kind of shared the data at store that we are supporting our customers across cloud for the last 3 years. But we also have another cluster called Loghouse, which is separate. So we store about 100 petabytes of uncompressed data. And at compressed state, it's about 5.4 petabytes. So this is us kind of like providing observability for all our customers, like 2,000 plus customers, real time. So most of the ClickHouse Cloud users, if you're currently going into the advanced queries or anything else, all of that information is being served live from Loghouse. So we're able to do it internally as well. So that's why we started building it out for others. Apart from that, one of the biggest releases was the JSON data type, because most applications don't really have a standardized way of pushing or your logging or matrices. You're going to be having dynamic set of information that you need to capture. So JSON there that kind of made it possible for us to bring it forward as a full stack. One of the most important things is, again, observability as a solution does not only include data stores. You need to have something upstream and something downstream. That's when we put together ClickStack, a fully open source stack. For the upstream part where data acquisition needs to happen, we actually work with OpenTelemetry, which lets you collect information across your applications or your hardware or your edge devices. And then downstream, when you want to consume this information, HyperDX, a beautiful UI that lets your engineers kind of consume this information as quickly as possible and able to decide what to do next. Unlike Shreyas, I'm not going to be very risk-taking today. So I've already recorded a nice, beautiful demo where we're going to cover a flow of a site reliability engineer for an e-commerce site where a customer has gone into the website, decided browse products, decided what they want to buy, added all these items into their carts, and then they put in their payment details and they're clicking on make the purchase now or transact now, but it's actually breaking. To actually solve this problem, you need to go through a lot of different pieces of information. So if you look through the flow, we actually moved from logs, then started looking through some high-level metrics, then traces, and we're kind of like figuring out what are the potential issues that might have happened, but it didn't happen. So we're still kind of navigating through all your logs, traces, metrics, and traces, and go through this whole thing. If you look at it, it's all in a single pane. Kind of have a very unified experience across all different parts of your observability stack into the same system and able to pipe back into this beautiful UI. It's almost done. So this is the best part of it. I don't come from observability background. So for me, I don't write prompt queue. I can write SQL and I'm more comfortable interacting and intuitively identifying a problem state, like a problem where it's happening. So if you look at through this, right, we literally spotted at a high level trend what's happening, and we just started digging through that one single event, and we were able to trace back through the whole journey from where it started and what actually caused that particular event, what caused that failure when someone wanted to transact on the e-commerce platform. So these are additional features that we have been adding on to further improve usability of ClickStack. So you look at it, it's pretty straightforward. You're not trying to figure out what field types you want to select. How do you want to design your charts? You're pretty much typing in natural language, and we are identifying the information that's sitting inside your observability system, which is ClickHouse, and able to render it as efficiently as possible. All right, that was the final finding. Going through the whole this hops to actually navigate and find the reason why it actually failed was actually a simple caching issue for that particular payment gateway, which was Visa. So it's kind of like gives you this natural flow end to end from data acquisition from your applications. If you think about it, from your not just your applications, but also your infrastructure, all combined together to deliver this experience for you. So as always, we want to talk about what our users are experiencing with this. So Character AI is one of the first early adopters of ClickStack. So their challenge or their problem statement was they were not able to capture enough information. They were stuck with 1 to 2 weeks of data. Next thing is every time the engineers are trying to navigate the system, figure out, or even write a simple query, it took them 10, 15 minutes to get response back on the system. The third most important thing we've been discussing is it was prohibitively expensive, and the cost was going even higher. So after moving into ClickStack as a whole, first thing they were able to do is capture 3 to 4 months worth of data. What this enabled them is to look at long-term trends of what's happening, and then start looking at repeated patterns within the data, given that now they're able to capture larger volumes of data. The next thing is the engineers are not spending minutes, they are spending milliseconds to get response time. And the last and most important part was system was very efficient, so they were just paying 50% of what they're previously paying for the previous vendor. So if we look at ClickStack, it kind of brings in into it, I'll say like it brings in a spot where it makes it simpler for you to build the observability stack. You don't need to have a big enough engineering team to build and every single part of your observability stack. Then the next part is it's going to be very efficient. It's not going to be very expensive. You're going to have turnkey solution. We have not stopped there. So, but as part of working with these early adopters, we kind of started building out more features because most users still like to export things into CSV after the analysis. So everyone still prefers Excel sheets, nothing wrong with that. So we kind of introduced that where you can actually export once you have done your analysis, export the information into that. The next most important thing people have been asking is like, I want to import and export dashboards. So we kind of introduce those features along with a lot of other features. But from that, one of the key things is looking forward, we also have a long list of features that we want to roll out for users. The popular request is PromQL. People still love Prometheus. So if you're a PromQL developer, you can actually natively write PromQL on ClickHouse, and we will do the translation for you. So your experience will still stay the same, even if you migrate onto ClickStack. And my favorite feature is the notebooks for observability, where you have done your initial investigation, but you want to deep dive, do your analysis, and collaborate with users. We're going to have that notebooks available, part of ClickStack, where you can work with a team of people within your organizations to investigate particular issues. It's going to make it simple. And you can actually get started today. Most of it is available as open source and a simple Docker container to roll out your entire stack and run it on your laptop. And with that, thank you for being patient.